Okay, let's get back here. Liborous Oshoma joins us next, legal practitioner and the public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming on this morning.
My pleasure.
Well,
you forgot to add an indigene of Edo State.
Well, yeah, go ahead. It's a big day for Edo State today. Yes. So there are many things, in the front burner today. But then, interestingly, both key leading political parties, there's restriction of movement now. So, but many will be looking to see how they enforce all of those. But the governor is going to be in a very particularly interesting position. He's outgoing, so he's, who knows, he'll be very interested in how this one plays out. But in terms of the build-up to these elections, and today being the day, what excites you?
What excites me is the fact that there's a departure on the part of INEC from what we know before. If you remember the last election, was it Bayelsa or the one in Port Harcourt in Rivers State, we didn't see, the kind of preparedness we're seeing on the part of INEC now was not so there. And then also, I've been monitoring, feedback from Edo since yesterday, day before yesterday, from when the materials were moved from the central bank to INEC office, and then from there to the zonal offices, and then from the zonal offices up till at about 2 p.m. yesterday, INEC was still distributing materials to the rack centers, so that to be easy for materials to get to the polling unit this morning. All of these are what excite me, because there is no democracy without, this is one of the greatest sacraments of democracy, and so you can't really talk about democracy without this opportunity, transparent opportunity for people to be able to elect or decide who governs them. And then for the political parties, we had seen them not different from the usual campaigns that we're used to, insults here and there. But thank God for debates, and one of the biggest one organized by your station gave the people the opportunity to actually, ask questions and then also hear answers on the how, because at the campaign grounds, the hows are not usually answered. And so for that, we hope to see more of those debates, in subsequent elections. The
other aspect is, when the reason why people are going out there is because they expect that when they cast their votes should count.
Yes, it should count.
So now let's look at that process, wherein the process of declaring the winner or declaring the results, right from the ward, the local governments, and then up there in the states, wherein they're expected, because we've seen the lists, registered voters list, pasted there. That's required procedure by the Electoral Act. It's also expected that upon conclusion of voting, the results should be announced from wards and should be pasted there. In some time ago, some states, we don't see that. But there'll be a lot of focus in this state, and we expect to see that, shouldn't we?
Yes, you even like in Oshun, the state government, when they step further to install electronic devices at every polling unit, and in some cases at ward level. So once the results are announced at the ward level or at the polling unit, the results are displayed in the electronic devices, and so it's conspicuous for everybody to see. Even though INEC is constitutionally empowered to announce the official result at the end of the day, it was still easy for monitors and for election monitors and for pressmen to be able to collate. So as INEC is announcing the results, it becomes easy for you to follow, because also the results are public. You just wait for INEC to announce. And so, because usually what happens is, you find out that manipulation usually takes place between the polling units and the ward level, the collation at the ward level. And because also, if you take for Edo State, for example, there are some polling units that are far from the local government. And so when materials are moved from polling unit to the local government, these are places where hoodlums usually attack INEC officials and the ballot boxes are snatched, and so there's usually complaint at that level. But now that with technology, it becomes easy for people to know that the results that were casted at each polling unit, it becomes easy for a lot of people also to follow some of these processes. And we also, you find out that, like Sean said, a lot of people now, the awareness is massive. Thanks to electronic media, thanks also to new media. You can sit down in the comfort of your home in Canada and know what is happening in Edo State. And so all of these also help the people, to create awareness in the mind of people and help the people to also participate in the process, irrespective of where they are.
I'm looking at the riverine areas, some of those places where in the last election we saw the casualties, casualties and the handicap of INEC then. Looking at the preparation of INEC and even the show of force we've seen with the security people, are you positive that things will be better this time around?
I would expect that INEC would learn their lessons from the mistakes of the past. Because what happened I think it was in Gele area in the last elections, where they were ferrying materials to those riverine areas, and then but for me, then, the questions that we asked were, why would you send people to such areas without life jackets and without a proper boats? And now you have also some riverine communities around Anegbete, Ekperu, Daba, Baginebode. All of these places are places, you have small communities in those areas where you need also to cross the river. I would expect...
That's the northern side of the north.
The northern part, yeah. And so I would expect that, coming from, the previous experience, that now INEC would have learned from. Because apart from the head, you still have almost the same, staffs that were in INEC at that time. They're still here. And then I also, with the improvement that we had seen, if you remember also in the last election, where people were already voting in the northern part and in the central area of the state, but in the southern part, that's in Benin, most of the polling units in Benin were still expecting materials like Garrick memorials and all of that. But now we're seeing a departure.
That was strange then, because that's the headquarters of the state.
Exactly.
And one would have thought that the materials left Benin City
would have arrived in Benin earlier than even any other places. But what we are seeing now is that materials, even in Benin, materials are already in Benin and now. So, and with what we also saw last night, I would expect that by now, Iwurumi, Auchi, and all even as far as Ekbon, we would expect that materials would have gotten to those places by now.
Mark?